On September 11, 2001, the World Trade Center located in the heart of New York City was attacked by the terrorist group al-Qaeda. More than 3,000 people lost their lives. The tragic events of the day and what was left of the towers became known as Ground Zero. America was on its knees as the smell of death filled the air. But after years of hard work and rebuilding, this same site has been transformed into one of beauty and remembrance for which generations to come would learn of one of America's deadly attacks. At the center of this archaeological site is the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, where millions of visitors from the world over come to pay tribute to the people who lost their lives and to reflect about life. Outside the memorial are two enormous reflecting pools that sit at the spot where the Twin Towers stood. The pools are surrounded by bronze panels inscribed with the names of people who died in the attack. For those who lost their loved ones, it brings back a lot of memories and emotions. The idea behind these pools, according to the architects, was to reflect the presence of absence as the water disappears into the abyss.
The pools themselves reflect what's no longer there, the buildings that are no longer there. You have waterfalls that fall down twice. They fall once and then the water pools, and then it falls into a center void and disappears. And it's as if the vertical buildings had been turned upside down and then disappear.
Just next to the pools is the museum. Its 8 floors below the ground house over 10,000 artifacts which are associated with the attack. As you enter the museum, you are welcomed by this piece of steel, which is one of the rods on which the Northern Tower was anchored.
Next to that, in the middle of Foundation Hall, is the last column, the 9-month recovery period that happened here, cleanup and recovery period. The last piece of steel they took out was this last column. It was still anchored at the site, and you can see, if you look up and down it, the recovery workers spray painted different objects, different tokens, numbers representing the lives they lost in their companies, organizations.
Another artifact that stands out of the museum is the antenna on which the different televisions and radio stations anchored their receivers and satellites. At the time of the attack, there were 6 engineers atop one of the towers working on the antenna. All of them died. There were rescue teams that moved in to attend to the situation in police trucks. However, many of them died after the building collapsed on them. This is one of the cars that remains in the museum. On the wall of the museum lies pictures and names of the people who lost their lives. Also present is this picture, which was taken on the morning of September 11th, just a few minutes before the attack. The museum also has audio and video clips detailing eyewitness accounts of the attack. This memorial is just more than buildings and artifacts. According to the brains behind the museum, it's a demonstration of rising from ashes to rebuild America.
It teaches you about the best of our human nature as opposed to the worst. And that, in the end, is what this museum is really about. It's about, recognizing the horrific events of 9/11 and commemorating the unacceptable loss of life that day. But it's also about looking at how people responded and what we are capable of when we respond to the best of our nature.
This skyscraper, called One World Trade Center, has already been constructed at the site. It stands at a height of 417 meters, like the height of the original World Trade Center North Tower. Its antenna rises to the symbolic height of 1,776 meters, the figure a historic date in which the United States Declaration of Independence was signed. Sserwanjja, NTV, New York City.